You are listening to the Red Roots podcast.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh man, Melinda's ready today.
Extra effort in.
Yeah, effort.
I wasn't afraid of overdoing it.
Do you want to do this today?
What? What do you mean?
Your microphone's not on.
Oh.
That will do it.
Oh, did they hear my good morning?
Probably through our microphones,
Okay.
but not through yours.
Good morning.
Oh, you're back. That was a lame one this time. Doesn't count. Everybody doing well?
Yeah.
It was a good week.
Thank you.
Just
Anything important or fun or interesting happened this week? It's hard to think about. Like, when was this week? Like, you know what I mean? Like, the days are literally all the same at this point.
Fun and interesting. Our daughter made a YouTube video, and her goal is to surpass how many scripts? I think the church's YouTube subscriber.
Oh, yeah. It's always a competition. Well, the church doesn't have many YouTube subscribers.
I mean, not YouTube.
TikTok?
TikTok, yeah.
Yeah, that's not going to happen because it goes up too fast.
Well, I don't know what's wrong with our girls, but like anytime Ramon's trying to celebrate this, you know, like, hey, we got another subscriber or whatever, or we got another like.
How many you got?
How many? And then one time Jolie went in and unliked the church's page just so we could lose a subscriber.
Yeah.
Haters.
Yeah, literally. Anything new with you?
no. I just remember it being cold last week.
It was
and not
cold.
enjoying it.
It was cold for like 2 days, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
felt
it's
like a lifetime.
It felt like a month.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know I don't know what it is in Celsius, but it's like 50 degrees, between 50 and 60 during the day, Fahrenheit. But in Celsius, you know more or less what it was.
13, 14.
Yeah, not fun. And it doesn't sound, to listen, it doesn't sound cold. Because honestly, it's not that cold. One is we've gotten used to being 90 degrees all the time, or whatever.
Mid-30s.
Yeah, mid-30s. But also, like, these buildings aren't insulated.
No.
So whatever it is outside, it is inside.
Yeah, because we don't have heaters.
Yeah, we don't have heat or any. Yeah, it just is what it is. Mm-hmm. Like 50 degrees outside, 50 degrees inside. 13 degrees outside, 13 degrees inside, so on and so forth. So it's the good thing is only a few days. It only lasted a couple, like 2 or 3 days. But it did. It felt like honestly, it felt like a week. It felt like it was like that for a week, and it was only 2 days.
Yeah.
It's rough because in your body, Simon and I were just talking about how our skin was super dry and then lips got all chapped. Like we suffered.
Yeah. Like my nose was all dry. It's still dry. Like fun times, but I don't know. I think I prefer the heat. But yesterday got hot, so I was like,
and then we went in cold. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun.
People.
Yeah. Anyways, so today, what we want to talk about is, does saying goodbye get any easier? Does saying goodbye does saying goodbye?
You want me to read that?
Like cut. Does saying goodbye get easier? Does it get any easier as you go with time and so on and so forth? Goodbye is obviously a thing that, you know, we don't say it as much as people think we do, I think.
That's because we don't travel that much.
Yeah, well, I mean, but that's what I mean. You only say it when you're traveling and stuff. And so, yeah. I guess your situation is going to be different. Mm-hmm. So, let me ask you this first. Was it hard to say goodbye, like when you left, to your parents and your friends and such?
Not really. Because there's an air of excitement about it as well, because you know what it is that you're going to. Obviously, there's nerves, and there's, you know, things building up to it. But I don't know about you guys, but for me, the build up was so long. Like, I knew like 6 months before my leaving date that I was going to be leaving, and so you've got all that time building up to it, and you're like, okay, I want to visit as many people as I can, say goodbye to as many people as you can. So you're kind of saying goodbye almost like a month before you're actually leaving. So you're so tired of saying goodbye by the time that it's your actual date that I don't think I really took it in properly. Yeah. Like, I remember the hardest moment was at the airport. I don't own an airport. But that was the hardest moment, because it was like, obviously my mum, my dad and my sister were there. you know, and they're like 1 minute they were absolutely fine and they were smiling and like saying goodbye and have a turn. And I joined the queue. I looked back and then my mum was just like crying.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say she was just gone. Like,
she was like, I'm not gonna cry.
Yeah.
She was like, I promise you, I won't cry when we get to the airport. She was like, I'll be strong for you, and you know, I'm really happy. I'm excited for you. And then it was only when I joined the queue that's when she started crying, and she was like, no, we have to go because I can't hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
And
then you look back and she was gone.
Then they just said, look, we're gonna go.
Yeah.
Mum can't do this anymore, so we're
I
gonna
think
leave.
the airports are hard.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not helpful though to stand there and watch. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I mean, there's a reason to do it, but it is like at the end of it, it's almost. I mean, this is probably a false equivalent, an exaggerated, but it's like going to a funeral and you're at the gravesite and you're sitting there watching as they get lowered. That's the worst thing ever. Like, it's the worst feeling. I mean, obviously that's way worse than watching, but like equally, it comes from the same place. Like, you're watching the person physically leave. Like, you know, mentally they're leaving, but you're watching them physically leave. It's tough.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I can imagine as a parent, like, not even just you're going overseas, but a person that, I don't know, first you're grown. Like, that's a hard thing, I think. And you're the baby in your family too, as am I. And so I think for your parents to see you like doing adult stuff and like not talking paying bills, because they don't cry when you pay bills, but to see you like kind of going off and taking these steps in life on your own is probably an emotional experience, you know. And
Well, I think you're also in a space where subconsciously, I think we feel when we're close to our children that we can protect them. And when you're far away, I can't do anything. If he's sick, if he gets hurt, I can't even fly there on time to help. You know?
Yeah.
So that
a scary
compounds
thing,
it.
you know,
Yeah.
because your parents want to be there to help you and support you and, you know, love you when necessary and stuff. And so that when that goes away, I think, again, we haven't because my kids are 9, so like we haven't experienced that. But I can imagine that'd be a tough thing. So, did it like pull on your heartstrings when you turned around and saw your mom like crying, or were you just like,
that was the harder moment. That was the harder moment. But you know, once I'd left the airport and I get my head back in the game, then it's fine.
like skipping down.
Which is really easy to do, sadly, because traveling so long is not an easy thing. Like, and mentally, you have to prepare for it. Physically, you have to always be aware. Where's my passport?
Yeah.
You know, don't fall asleep. Is my laptop near me? You know, so it's nerve wracking for me to travel.
Yeah, it's a bit stressful. And then with kids and stuff, it's a lot harder because, they're kids.
Do you remember the first time we flew to Bolivia?
Yeah.
I broke down in the airport, started crying. We were in Santa Cruz airport. I don't know what happened at this point, but I think I was just tired.
Yeah, it's funny because now you criticize Jolie for doing that.
Yeah.
Like when she's tired, she starts crying about everything.
Yeah, I think I was tired. Plus, everything was unknown, you know, and then they're speaking Spanish and they were asking for things that we had no clue. Like, what are they asking for?
Yeah.
We already paid for that.
And
so,
like, go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead. We didn't know if people were like trying to take advantage of us or if we genuinely forgot to pay some kind of taxes that we owed or whatever. And then I'm talking to him. We had so many bags, and then he's frustrated. I'm frustrated, and we start like arguing, and I'm like, I didn't know what I want. I just want to cry.
Yeah. I think it's like you said though. It's like the weight of all the excitement and like you're so excited because like going back to what you said about the build up, you're not building up to say goodbye to people. Like you are, but you don't think about that part. You think about the thing that you want to do. You know, you want to move to, in this case, to Trinidad. And so you're thinking about Trinidad, it's going to be like this. You're Googling it, right? You're like, you're looking at different pictures and like trying to figure, you're buying stuff you need. And, you know, it's exciting. You're only thinking about that. You're not thinking about goodbyes. And then it does hit you at some point when this is goodbye for a while. And there are different it's in doses, right? So if you hug your aunt or your grandmother or whatever, you're like, oh man, like this is, you know, goodbye. But it's not all at once. So it's like, it's tolerable. And then, you know, the airport thing hits you, you know, with the tears and stuff like that. But then like, okay, that's the thing. And that's the one that almost gets you. But then like, you're still excited and you're in the airport and this is the day. So like, it doesn't match. Your sadness doesn't match your excitement because it's such a buildup. But then you get here. And I think that's what happened to you is you get here and it's like, you felt so excited about this morning or yesterday morning in our case. And we just traveled so long, you feel so worn down and it just doesn't feel exciting. Like at the moment you look around and all things, like we had never been to Bolivia. So we're stuck in this airport and we have to catch a connecting flight. Like I don't know any Spanish. And like from hearing her grandmother speak, so it's like a crapshoot. Like, is this a Spanish word? Or is this just an English word with an accent? Yada. Like, and so like then she's feeling pressure because I can't talk, so I'm depending on her to talk. And then I just think in your mind, your subconscious is not like, this is not what I was excited about. And so I think everything comes crashing down like, oh, I'm far away. I feel alone. I feel this and that and whatever. And I think that's probably what happened.
Probably.
I don't know.
I mean, no clue to say.
So for you, the first time saying goodbye, was that hard?
It wasn't.
You cried, I think, right?
Well, the first time we said goodbye, we said bye to Becca and Romero in Cali.
Romero wasn't even there. He had to work. It was Callie and Becca.
Callie and Becca? Mm-hmm. And I think, that was emotional for me because we didn't know. Well, we did know when we were coming back, so that's not true. That wasn't that time. I just knew that we were leaving that life behind. Like we were never moving back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were never going to have our family established there. And everything that I knew and that we had built up until then was just gone. And so we owned nothing except for what we had on us.
We sold everything.
Yeah, we did. And so it was just, it was emotional because I didn't even know when was the next time. They were our only family that we saw on a consistent basis there. And so it was hard. The next time I knew we were going to see our niece, she was going to be probably 3 years older, you know?
Yeah.
So, it was very hard, emotional time.
Yeah, for me, leaving the first time, I think, was like, I mean, obviously miss my brother and my sister-in-law. That was the thing. But like, when you're an adult, like, you know what I mean? You've been apart and stuff like that. But my niece, like, I had never been away from her since she was born. I was there when she was born at the hospital, you know. And then what is she? I mean, she was a little kid. She's probably 3 or something at the time we left. And so, you know, we had spent significant amount of time with her and whatever. And so that was hard to leave. But equally, again, I found myself in that space of like, but this is the buildup. Like we've Elisha'd all of our stuff. Like we just burned. I mean, we didn't burn it. We sold it. I don't know if that's equally as holy or less or whatever. But you know, we got rid of all of our stuff, and to move it. So it's like, you know, this is the moment. Finally, we get to do it. So it was that. But equally, I was like, man, like I'm not gonna see my niece for a while, you know, and like. And that was kind of a weird thing, but again, like you said, you're in not the hospital. I always do that, hospital and airport. You're in the airport and you're in go mode, and so you know what I mean. You can kind of get over it easily, and then so you know you get through, and then we got to Santa Cruz, and it was a long. I mean, you know, it's a long flight coming here, regardless of where you're coming from. A lot longer than what you would think. What it feels like it's going to be in your mind, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But so you get here and it's just like it. Let me first say. Bolivia has improved in the area of professionalism and stuff like that, and it's even in like the grocery stores and stuff. Like it is light years ahead of where it was 11 years ago. It's almost to the day we left, September 1st or something like that.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyways, I think it was like a few days from now. But Bolivia was. It's literally light years ahead of where it was now.
Yeah, you arrive at the airport and you weren't even welcomed. No. You know, you just like.
Well, I mean, you're not the king. Like,
I mean, not like
the king of Oklahoma.
I mean, I'm just saying you're met with like police officers that have their big arms.
That's not true.
Guns.
They didn't have guns at the airport. Where did you go?
Maybe I'm just thinking about the bank. I just remember being impacted by seeing these police officers with these guns just freely hanging out.
You're from inner city Philadelphia.
But their guns are in holsters.
In holsters?
Or whatever.
Is that what you call a belt?
I don't know.
A pocket? Holsters.
They're not like just out there for everybody to see. It's kind of like
at the airport they don't have guns. It's just cold. It's cold lighting. It's a cold. There's not, you know. It just, and you know you're in a foreign country anyway. It's foreign to you, and it's a cold welcome. There wasn't a lot of smiles and stuff like that in the moment. And it was very, just the whole encounter was very cold. And to be completely honest, at the time, felt very like, knowing now what I know, felt very communist. Like just no one's happy. They're not happy you're here. They're not happy to be here. You know what I mean? Like, well, this is a lose-lose for everybody in this whole situation. Like, we're all gonna lose. Burn this place down, and we're all gonna like. That's what it. Yeah, I almost said that again. And it's this weird feeling when you come in. Now it is way different, man. They're like, hey, welcome to Bolivia. And they open my passport and see I get like that I'm, Bolivia. Oh, welcome home. You're back. Like, I'm like, who are you? Like, I got nervous last time I came in. Yeah. And you go to customs and they're just like just basically picking you out and digging through all your stuff, trying to question you about stuff that like, whose toothbrush is this? Trying to make you pay taxes on anything like it's mine, my guy. Like, do you not see the wear and tear?
But that's even gotten better too.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's light years better. But at the time, all that stuff was terrible, man.
Yeah.
And like, so you get here and you're like, ugh, I'm so excited to be in this place. It's like it's like we had a friend who proposed, and he did this big thing in front of his church and stuff like that with his girlfriend, and asked her to marry him. And like, it's all on camera, and the video's probably still floating out there somewhere. And he's like, will you marry me in this big show, and gets on one knee. And she was like, yeah. Like, and he's like, yeah. And he hugs her, and like, she didn't even put her arms up. Like, she's like, that's what it feels like. It's like Pepe Le Pew, this guy, like getting married. Like, but it feels like you're so excited to be here. And it feels like, I'm not saying this is the truth, but it feels like oh, they don't want you. And so that's a hurtful, thing or whatever. But anyways, so as time has, you haven't had to say goodbye really since then to like short-term teams and stuff, but they don't, you met them on Monday and on Friday they're leaving. So it's not like on short-term mission trips, like everybody's crying and hugging and stuff. It's like, guys, you met on Wednesday. But so like that, I think in a sense, like that's gotten easier. I mean, cause like when you're a teenager, like, you feel like these are your best friends in the world. Yeah. And so that's like now, I have to be careful because I'm like, I can come off as super cold to the teams when they come. Like, all right, we're leaving. I'm like, all right, guys, see you later. And these are my friends. It's not like it's not like I don't care. It's just like, I mean, so I guess that part, it has gotten easier, I guess you could say. Because I guess maybe the goodbye is not easier. The living far away from people has gotten easier. You know what I mean? And so that person doesn't belong in this part of your life anyway, so it was just a treat to get them here. Yeah. And so when they're leaving, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, you didn't have the expectation, like, you know what I mean, that they're going to be here for 6 months or 6 years or whatever. So it's just like whatever. But has it gotten easier for you over the years?
I think saying goodbye, there's like two aspects. One is like saying goodbye to people that have lived with you. Like when we were in Cochabamba, missionaries would come and go. Their furlough's up, so they're going to be gone for a year. Or they're going on furlough. I mean, they're going on furlough, and then they'll be gone for a year. So you just kind of get used to having people in your life for a while, and then knowing that you're going to say bye and not see them for a bit. Sometimes they'll go on furlough, never come back. Sometimes they'll go on furlough, come back, but then you're not as close as you were before because that whole year of time. And so that just became just routine. It's part of life. Oh, you're leaving now? Okay, have a great time. I remember one time we had a going away party for a friend, and I hugged her. We looked at, she's not a very, very emotional person. And I hugged her and said, well, I don't think we'll ever see each other again. So bye.
High five.
She was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think so either. And that was it, But yeah, you get used to that. And that's become way easier for me to do. As far as saying bye to family, I don't think it's become any easier for me. It's so hard for me to do that because whenever we go visit, we see it's not what life would be every day, but you kind of tend to imagine, oh, this is what life would be like every day if we lived here. We would be hanging out with cousins all day, every day, going to the movies together, ice skating, which is a fantasy, that won't happen if we lived close by. But that's what you kind of imagine when you're there and in the moment having fun, like, oh, this is family time, which I treasure. But yeah, saying bye to family doesn't get easier for me. I think I just learned to expect it, and I cry less now. It doesn't mean it's easier. I just cry less.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I always have that knot in my throat whenever I'm saying bye to your parents or my mom or my grandma. I'm like, don't cry.
I mean, that makes sense though, because it's your family. That's the thing, is like your friends and stuff that you have here. They were your friends for a time and stuff, and they're still your friends, but it's just different. Like, you know what I mean? grow up around them, and they're not somebody's going to be connected to you necessarily, like for the rest of your life. And so you don't have that expectation either. You know, when your family, it's a deeper connection.
Yeah.
So do you think, like, you're going back in February for however much time, and then coming back? Do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like it's going to be harder this time to say goodbye to your family and friends this time when you leave?
I don't know.
Sorry, I just made him think about something that's like,
He's gonna go
like, it's
go to
like,
his room
dang, I
and
didn't think
cry.
about that. Like, this is going to be tough.
Because I think like there will be that like full sense as you're talking about, like when I go back, it will be really intense for like the first few months, like seeing everyone every weekend, always out, always doing something. And so I think to leave like that straight away, that would be harder, because you're like, oh, that was so much fun. Like I was with my friends every weekend, and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're hanging out, and you know, I saw my family and I've traveled around, and it's like, oh, now I'm leaving that again. But knowing that that isn't the reality of what life is like when I live in the UK, like I'm not doing things every weekend. I'm not meeting up with people every weekend.
Yeah.
So, you know, having that mindset of, okay, that wasn't, you know, that isn't reality. It was nice. It was nice to go back and see everyone, but that isn't how life is normally anyway. Yeah, I think it helps as well that everyone, all of my friends and my family and things like that support the fact that I'm here, which obviously helps, because there's no like, oh, why are you doing that?
Yeah,
There's no
drag you down.
negativity. Trying to spoil it, or you know, trying to keep me somewhere, or biased or something. You know, people are very much, you know, make your own decision based, which is really helpful. I think, yeah, the biggest thing is like, because I don't know if I'm going to put a time limit on it next time. This time I knew it was 2 years. And so it was like, okay, it's 2 years. I'll be back 2021. I could say that with certainty. I knew I was going to be back 2021. Whereas I think next time it would be I don't know. I don't 2 years, 5 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, because the people you'd go back for is to see your family. But if your family comes see you, do you then need to go back 6 months later? You know, all those things that haven't worked.
Absolutely.
So they say, oh, I'll come back in 2 years. But if my family come out and visit a year and a half later, I'm not then going to go back to the UK to see my family who I just seen
6 months ago,
or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like working through all of that and not knowing, like not being able to say to people like, yeah, I'll be back in 2024.
Yeah.
I think that would be slightly harder, because it'll be I don't know when I'll be back. And knowing that life events are going to happen when you're away, people are going to pass away, people are going to get married, people are going to have children, things are going to go wrong, and you're going to find out via social media or things like that.
That's hard.
Like, and knowing like, okay, these things are going to happen and I'm not going to be part of that. Like I'm leaving that. You go back and you rejoin their world for these 6 months that you're back there, and you're invited to everything, and then you're leaving, but you knowing their lives are going to continue as well, obviously, and you're no longer going to be part of that. I think that's the harder thing to mentally process. You know, obviously there are things I would go back for, like if my sister gets married, I'll go back for my sister's wedding and things like that. Things you would fly back for. But the other things, having to pick and choose, like, okay, what do I spend £1,000 on to go back for? It's a lot of money to get a return flight. And so you're like, okay, I can't just keep popping back for a long weekend or something, you know? So I think that's the more mental difficulty with it.
I think people assume that if you go back frequently that you will miss family less, but I think it's the opposite. You know, you never get to really... You're always living in two worlds, and
you're living in one world is what the truth is. I mean, at that point, and the world, but that's typically a good thing. But that world that you're living in is not here. If you're going back so often, you know what I mean. Then you're just focused. The reason you want to, because you like, it's like he's saying, you don't want to miss out, because that's a terrible feeling. And like we felt like that. Like stuff happens and no one tells you about it. Like big stuff.
Yeah.
Like oh, you're an uncle again. Like no, no. I mean, I'm just making that didn't happen, but like. You know, like stuff, and it's not that people aren't being like intentionally, like it just is what it is. You're not around and whatever. And so life moves on. And I think it hurts you when their life moves on. But that ties back to what we've talked about before on here. It's like the importance of establishing your life here and like having friends. Because like, if you don't have friends here, all you're going to do is look back at your friends at home and see what they're doing and just be like, man, and you feel lonely. You're not only lonely, but then you feel left out because they're moving on. And they're all at the wedding together, all posing for pictures, and you like picturing yourself photoshopped in on the side. Like, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, I could have been there. You start like fantasizing, like, had I been there, whatever, and then you feel terrible. And a big part of that is not because you're never gonna not miss your friends. That's just that's silly and unrealistic. But equally, you get into this dilemma to like now when I see my friends doing stuff, I don't think like I wish sometimes I'm like I wish I was there. But equally, I think about like back here, I'm like, oh, I can't be around my friends and like family here.
Yeah.
So it's like you get caught in this thing. But equally, it's good to be like, it's not rocking a hard place because it's two positives, right? But it's equally to like, equally. What am I saying that for? It's better to have good here. So like you missed out on this, but I have this. Instead of like not having this and being like, man, I just missed out on that.
Yeah.
And then you're whatever. Because and what you're saying about, to your point about you're coming back for an indefinite amount of time, whatever now, I think it's going to be harder because people are, rightfully so, people that love you are going to want to spend more because they're like, well, I don't know when I'm going to see you again. So they want to, get all the time they can in. And it does. Even though you know it, it does become this like, you start believing that this is what life is going to be like. But that's not like, when you move there, you don't even see them. You probably see them more like.
No, yeah. The reality is you see everyone about 3 days before you leave, or everyone's trying to cram into seeing you right before you leave. And it's like, and then you don't get to see a few people because it's like, I can't fit it all in the last 3 days.
Yeah, that's my thing. Is like, it stinks when I go back. Like, I just can't spend time with everybody. Because like, I'm glad that people want to spend time, but like, I'm traveling, but then equally I want to spend time with my family, like my parents and my grandparents and stuff. And so, and to be I like get all the time I can and with them, you know what I mean? And not that no one else is important, but comparatively really kind of aren't, you know what I mean? Like, so it's just a tough thing. But what has been for you, has there been a moment that was the toughest to say goodbye?
I don't know. Can we come back to me? I don't know.
I mean, it's me and you because he like.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a time. I think it was 2012. I remember it, like, because saying goodbye. First, let me say this first. Saying goodbye has never been super tough for me. I don't know why. I have no idea why. It's just not been super tough. I think a part of it's logical. Like before, like I knew I was coming back in a month. Like, you know what I mean? Like so, or whatever. But it's never been super, even when I went to college and stuff, it just wasn't super, but you're excited and stuff. So it's never been super tough for me. There was one time that it was like, I wasn't about to have it. Like, when me and Jalen went to the States. So I guess I'll say the whole thing. So people that don't know situation, cause I don't know if you know. So when we got here 2009, we left, then we came to raise money, then we came back in 2010. When we came back in 2010, Melinda was pregnant. Fast forward, the girls are born 2011, March 2011. So we're doing the adoption process for Jolie. That means you can't leave the country for 2.5 years or something like that. And so, because until the process is over is what I'm trying to say. The adoption process takes 2 to 2.5 years. And you can't leave with a kid that's not, you know what I mean? I mean, you can get permission and stuff, but it's a little bit shaky and it's frowned upon. Even our lawyer was discouraging it.
We didn't qualify for permission. It had to have been like a medical issue, and a lot and people who did get it
lied about
probably
it.
lied about it.
And we just weren't going to do that. Anyways, but we were hurting financially. We needed to raise some money, and so it was like, all right, I need to go to the States. But equally, I was like, man, I don't want to leave her with these two little 1.5-year-olds. And so somehow, I remember the conversation, we came to the decision, like, I'm going to take Jalen because Jalen can leave.
And our family had never met.
Yeah, they had never met the girls. My parents
did.
had when they were born, but no one else had met the girls. And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to take Jalen. There's a lot of personal stuff going on at that time. Like a lot of, I'm not going to get into it on this. We'll talk about it maybe another day. But there was a lot of personal stuff. That was the hardest time for me. Just as far as missions and ministry and uncertainty and like just feeling like this is not. And so me and Jalen went to the States. We were there for a month.
Yeah,
like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And so, it was great. Jalen's meeting all of her cousins. She's meeting her aunts and uncles, great grandparents, et cetera, et cetera. And she's being like the perfect angel. Like, hard to believe, but she's not. She's not bad. She's just Jalen. like, you know, she's 1.5, just a little toddler. Like she was great, and everybody's taking her everywhere, and you know, like just celebrating her and stuff. So that was really cool to see. But you see all this again, this false reality. But on the other side, but it's partially false reality, right? Because this is my family, and even though it's not going to be every day, like we are going to be around each other, and so you have that, and you just feel this like home feeling, not in a place, but just the people that you're around. You feel home, and you feel loved, and you feel free, and like just again all this mental stuff that we were just trying to figure out and trying to figure out how to deal with and whatever. And anyways, did the whole trip. I made that story too long. Did the whole trip, get to the airport. My dad takes us to the airport. And I'm like, I already was feeling like I didn't want to go back. I'll just be honest. I didn't want to go back. And like, ever. Let me be clear about that. Ever. I was done. Like a lot of people, I haven't told a lot of people this. I was done. And it wasn't because I hate Bolivia. It wasn't because it is, again, we'll talk about it another time. Anyways, I would just say I was done. And so got to the airport and said goodbye to my dad, and he was hugging Jalen, and then he hugged me. And when he hugged me, like I felt the tear come down my face. I promise you, I just turned around and grabbed Jalen and walked off. Said bye, like because had I stayed there for another second, like I don't know if I could have left. Obviously, if Melinda and Jolie had gone with me, I wasn't going back. I just wasn't going back. So it was like obviously see God's hand at work, because I would not have gone back. There's no doubt. I would have like, I ain't going back. Like that's how, for me at that moment, that's how bad it was. And you know, like how much I love doing this and whatever, but that's how bad it was for me at the time. Nope, nah. But they were back. They were here, so there's no way. And so I felt like so conflicted, and I felt like I was leaving this safe place, this safety net. Yeah. You know what I mean? Of like that I needed at that time. Of this, and it's not that people don't support me from afar, like you know what I mean, like calling and checking up on me. But at that time, like I'm at the airport, and it was like the reality of like we're going through all this frustrating time and whatever, trying to figure stuff out. And I got to a place selfishly, because my wife is still in it. Like I got to a place to where it's like, oh, like it felt so good, and just to be like, you know what I mean, not just outside of the situation and whatever. And so like I got there, and then the reality of me having to go back to that was like, no way. You know what I mean? Like, again, I know this is a false reality, but it was perfection for a time. Yeah. And then having to leave perfection and go back to imperfection, for lack of a better word, was like, no way. Like, this is terrible. That was the single hardest time I've ever had saying goodbye. And I took Jay and I carried her. And, you know, babies just look at you all weird. Jalen, because I'm holding her like this. She pushed away and, like, looking at me. And she always frowned. And she's, like, has her frown face looking at me like, what's wrong with him? And, like, I'm walking through and then, like, I'm walking through and, like, I wipe my eye. And the lady says, yeah, goodbyes are hard. I'm like, get off me, man. Get off me. Like he nosy. Hey, move on.
Well, you know West Virginians are sweet.
No. Like, I mean, she wasn't being nosy. I'm being silly. But that was, for me, that was the single hardest time to say, because like I didn't want to leave. I did not want to say goodbye. It's just a miracle. Because had my dad or my mom called and be like, hey, you know what? We're going to figure out a way to bring Melinda here. Just, can you stay here for another month? Yeah. Probably even like, not another month. I'm not leaving. Like, I'm done. Obviously, glad we went back, and God taught us so much stuff in that year that we were there. And like, it wasn't an easy time. But like we learned so much about ourselves and about ministry and we really, I think in that year, we really developed our ministry philosophy and prioritized what's important in ministry, and really were able to dig into the word and see what my friend says or my pastor says or my parents say or what I say. What does Jesus really value in ministry the most? And I think in that dark time, like, is when ironically the brightest moments were birthed in that, dark, weird time. And but anyways, that's not the topic. The topic was the hardest. So anyway, have you had a hardest time? The time was the absolute, like, it was a memorable time, I guess you can say. They were like, man, saying goodbye was hard.
Yeah, well, you mentioned something that made me think. I do remember specifically one of the hardest times was when we first came for like our visit, but they call it a scouting trip. But the first time we came for our 3-year commitment, because we knew we were pregnant. And I just I didn't know what it looked like to raise a child without your family, because my grandparents were so involved in raising me, and my mom was so involved in raising my nieces, and so that's just what you expected. You just like, how am I going to do this in a different country without my mother, my sister, my in-laws, no one, even though we lived in a different state, and I know that they wouldn't have been there physically every day, at least your parents would have come frequently, they would have driven or flown or whatever, and we could have gone back and forth, or my mom back and forth to visit us and to see the girls. But specifically, my grandfather, he was sick for a really long time, and so we never really knew when was going to be his last day. But I knew that he was every time I saw him, he was a little bit more sickly. So it was, as a teenager, I used to prepare myself to like, what am I going to do when my grandfather dies? How am I going to react? Like in bed at night, he was not dying anytime soon, but I'm mentally preparing for this, crying, So when I remember leaving Philadelphia and not knowing about, not knowing whether my grandfather was going to live or die. I didn't know. I can't sit here and say I knew he was going to die. But
you knew you were going to be gone for a long time.
I knew we would be gone for a while. And so I knew there was a possibility within this time frame that he would pass away. And he did. And so that hurt me, knowing that he didn't get to meet the girls or whatever. But that bye specifically was hard because I was pregnant. And so it probably had a lot to do with hormones too.
But then, he passed away as that trip that I was talking about, me and Jalen flying to the States while we were in the air to Miami. I landed in Miami and like connected to Wi-Fi. My phone literally was overheating in my, it was going, but it's text from her, from my mom, and like it because we were flying. We didn't, have any whatever. And whatever, signal or whatever, So, yeah, that's tough too. Like when you don't know, that's tough. There's another time though that I completely ignored. It's when we left Bolivia. And we weren't coming back.
Oh no, that might be all of
that was the
my
time
tough
of all
times.
time.
Yeah.
So it kind of connects to what I was talking about. We were going through a bunch of tough stuff or whatever. So me and Jalen went on that trip. We came back and we served another year. We had to finish the adoption, but we committed for 3 years. And so we had another year left of our commitment. And also we had to finish Jolie's adoption process, which coincided perfectly, which is, I think, is by divine design. But like we had to leave, we didn't have to leave. Like no one made us leave, but we had to leave. Like for us, like it was, we could not have stayed here. There was so much stuff going on, and like we had to leave. Like, but equally, we did not want to leave at all. But we knew that we knew that we had to go, and so there was this huge conflict of interest on the inside of you, of knowing what's best for you, what you have to do, because of circumstances beyond your control, but equally, like your friends and people that you have just dug in life with and committed. Because it goes back to when we said it felt cold and communist when we got to the airport. But then like our home church in Cochabamba, like they loved us, man. When we came, like I was hola. Like couldn't even hola, probably like my Appalachian accent, hola. Like I couldn't speak any.
They loved us.
But like they embraced us, man, and taught us like so much stuff about the culture, and like we'd go to people's houses, and when the girls were born, like I mean, everybody
became like adopted grandparents and like, aunts, and
we hit the door on Sunday morning. We didn't hold the girls until it was time to go home. Like they're just people were like loving, and it was such a great thing, and so we had to leave that. We have never had that. I have never had that in a home church. That level of being loved and cared for, and even like being groomed to be a leader in the church, and having the church members like cheering me on and supporting you. How times have changed, huh? Like, but like just being this young new guy coming up, and like people are encouraging me to try my Spanish and be like growing up there really, and in ministry really, and it was a big moment. And even growing up like just as people, because we had kids and stuff, and people like giving us unwarranted and sometimes terrible parenting advice, but equally involved, and like there's a guy that would bring us diapers every once in a while at church, and like, so you're just part of this like community that definitely has its deep issues and is not as healthy spiritually as it's supposed to be, but equally people that do love and care about you. And so it's like, so now we have to leave that. We got close to Rudy and Georgette, and you know Georgette, Rudy, Georgette, Sue, and Josue and Richard. We worked together in the youth group, and like we spent our last 3 to 6 months. We probably spent almost every single day with Rudy, like, and that's how we became close. It's like, I mean, but even before that, we got close. But then those guys would come over our house like several.
They would stay till 2 a.m.
Yeah, like at least several times a week, a few times a week. We'll say that just to be fair. And so we just spend a ton of amount of time together, and like they're essentially my kids, like aunts and uncles, the equivalent of that, right? Of what they have physically. My kids have aunts and uncles, so they don't need new ones. But my point is like, on the ground or whatever, like the people that my kids identify with and see every day and love them and care for them and, buy them gifts and whatever. Like, so we had that, and we had to leave that behind. And I was a wreck at the airport that time. Like I've never been, I don't know if I've ever been so angry, because I was just angry that we had to leave this, And
I mean, it didn't help that so many people showed up to the airport to say bye. I'm like, y'all could have just said bye from over there.
And they're all crying, and like everybody's, you're not crying, I'm crying, or I'm not crying, you're crying. Like everybody's right, because everybody like, and so that makes it worse. And like, my face was like covered because I was so. Yeah, definitely tears of sadness, but also like anger, man. I was so angry, and like that goodbye was so hurtful. It was such a deep, hurtful thing, and then you start overanalyzing like why, and then it's like the reason was just stupid anyway. You know what I mean? Like this should work out. This should be where we are, and whatever. And so that was a tough one,
because especially at that time we were certain that it was a final goodbye. We were never coming back.
Never going to see these people again.
Yeah.
Ever going to see these people again. These people that have become your best friends and family and stuff. Like we were saying a minute ago, is like you can't be there, so be here. And I don't want to say new best friends, because that makes it like we're not friends with our old friends, but definitely like best friends that you can be around and come to your house and have dinner with and whatever. And I mean, because it was Tom and Abby, and there's Rudy. Like, so there's just, and then, family, Duran and Angie were like family to us. Like, and so all these people, and like, so we have to say goodbye to this. And like, it was like, nah, this is terrible, because I feel like we did the right thing by digging in, but then have to, and not just say goodbye to it, like it's good riddance. So that is essentially like watching the coffin go down, because it's like, because we're never coming back. That we were never coming back. And so it was like, we stayed in touch with Rudy. Like when Rudy came to the Dominican Republic, it was like, I thought I was never going to see this dude again. Like, so that was cool. But then like right after that is when it kind of started like, oh, maybe we can go back. And that was, but until then, like we had no idea. No idea we were going to come back here. Not only no idea, no intentions at all. Like we were not coming back here. And so that was a tough one. Like it was literally like going to a funeral of all of your closest friends. And it's basically like, because at the time people used like social media and stuff, but it wasn't like the same as it is now. You don't just FaceTime somebody then. You know what I mean? Like not here. I mean, maybe in the States or whatever, Skype was the only one doing it. It's funny how that happens. Like the first one gets to it now is like the lamest. Skype is like the lamest application ever. But like, so it wasn't, you just weren't going to have contact with most of these people. It just was over. And then, obviously, I mean, now it's a little bit different because you can chat with somebody literally from the airport, like as soon as you walk away from them or whatever, but you couldn't do that. So it was good riddance essentially to a lot of people. Like, and that was tough. That was very hard. And I don't wish to do that ever again. It was hard leaving the Dominican Republic, our church there, because our church was like, was healthy at that point. And like, man, but it wasn't the same because we just hadn't been there that long. And like, it wasn't the same.
Simon's like, how many times y'all had to say goodbye forever?
Yeah, too many. Well, we left the States. So we left the States. We came to Bolivia. We were here for 3 years, 3 years. And then we left here. And we left here at that time. I was talking about we say goodbye. We went to the Dominican Republic. We were there for a year. And that's when things, we decided like, oh, we can go back to Bolivia.
I can't believe that was a year. It felt like such a long year, like an eternity of a year.
Jason and Karen, like it was really hard to say goodbye to them. But it just like, I think we were so hurt and jacked up at that time Like that we got close to them because of who they are, and they pursued us and stuff. But we're still very cautious about how, because you don't want to go through that again. Like if something hurts that bad, like you're kind of like weird or whatever. For me at least, And so when we left, that was hard to leave them too. But
our girls chat with them like their kids. Like,
and that's the thing. It's like at that point you're starting to contact each other. You could text message across the world and stuff. And so So for me, there's two different types of goodbyes, I guess.
Yeah.
But those are the hardest ones.
I agree. Yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. So that's our story. So you leave.
Simon, you still here?
When he leaves, like that's what you have to look forward to. No, it's different here.
Simon's going to miss us when he leaves, so prepare for that.
I mean, we can literally FaceTime us like 30 seconds after from the gate. Like, miss you guys. Stop crying. Get on the plane, man. Now, like our church here isn't as welcoming and embracing yet as our church was in Cochabamba.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like our church is healthier here, but ironically, that has not translated yet into that. But hopefully, at some point, will be that where we can embrace a little bit better. When people come from different places and stuff. Also, I think people here are used to people coming and going.
Yeah.
Because here in the clinic, volunteers have come and gone for years, and so it's it's just like, oh, hey, there's another guy. Like when Carla said to you the other day, like, and she told me after she said that, like, you're coming back. She asked me, why is he coming back? I said, do you not want him to come back? She was like, no, it's just that she's like, people usually don't come back. And so it was like it's impactful to them that like, oh, he wants to come back. Like they thought he was done. But equally, I think, I know they love Simon, but I see that they don't invest as much into him as a new guy. Like, we've invested into them because we've been here a long time. And so it's easier for us to go and, like, invest in the people. For him, he's coming as new, and so we need the community to invest in him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think our community is invested in you as much as, they should have. But equally, I think, too, there's that, like, oh, he's going to leave in 2 years anyway.
Yeah.
And like that's not excusable, but you can kind of get it, like, cause they spent so many times like investing in people, like, oh, that's my best friend, and then like, and you never hear from the person again, like literally. And so
Yeah, and I get it as well, because it's like it's always tricky when you're speaking to someone and you're like, oh hey, because the conversation naturally comes up as like, oh well, when are you leaving? So that could be a conversation I have now or last year or whenever. And you go, oh, hey, Melinda, when are you leaving? And you say, oh, February next year. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. But in your back of your mind, you're always thinking, oh, they're leaving in February next year. So now you carry on, you chat to them, you're friends with them, you put film with them or whatever. But you always know, and they always know, okay, this person's leaving in February kind of time. And I've definitely noticed that affects relationships that I've had with people. Has been like, whenever they ask me, like, oh, when are you leaving? And I always, because I have a date. So almost it's like, because
February 18th at 6 a.m.
Yeah, because I know my date, it's almost puts up a barrier in itself. Whereas I feel like if it would just be a case, well, I don't know, then I don't know whether things would have been different or not. I mean, it's not to say that people have been hostile towards me. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But saying, like, you notice that it's a common, like everyone, people that I see every single day ask me when I'm leaving. People I see once a month will ask me when I'm leaving. It's like just a natural thing that comes up. And so, it is difficult, when you're trying to be somewhere, you're trying to live somewhere and chat to people and they're constantly being like, so when are you leaving? When are you leaving? And I think it is because that expectation of, well, people just come here and then they leave. Yeah, it's just what happens. Because Carla couldn't believe when I was like, no, but I want to come back. She was like, wait, what? You want to come back? Yeah. But she just wasn't expecting that at all. She was, in her mind, it was, oh, he leaves in February and then life carries on. Yeah. And so, that's been an interesting dynamic to work with. And
Carlos Pecho, not Carlos that, but the other, we were watching Champions League final the other day, and he was there before you, and he said, he's a nice guy, so he's just kind of chatting or whatever, and he said, and how's Simon doing? And Rudy was like, I guess he just wasn't like he's like, good? And he said something, and then Rudy was like, he's supposed to come. He's like, oh, he's coming back to Bolivia? Rudy was like, he lives across the street. He's like, oh, he stayed here through the whole pandemic? He's like, yeah. He's like, he stayed here in Bolivia through the whole pandemic? Like, Rudy's like, yeah. He's like, I thought he left at the beginning I think he went back to England, I think he said at the beginning of the pandemic. Rudy was like, no, he stayed here. He's like, oh, I thought he would have left or whatever. So there's that assumption of like, oh, well, gone. Even him, he's not even a part of like our everyday thing.
yeah.
And so it's like this assumption of like, it's just a clock, like, right? It's just, it's a countdown of like, as to where, like with us, I think people don't know where to put us because like, we don't, so we're just here all the time. And so I think slowly they've begun to like just accept that we're just here. And so that it makes it easier to engage or whatever. And so, but we want to get our church to get to the point to where it doesn't matter. Like we just love people and like engage people and like, you know, with that, engage them with our community feel and love, neighborly, whatever you want to call it, regardless if they're going to be here for 2 weeks or 2 years or, you know, 20 years or whatever. And so, but I mean, you just become callous. So really what we're talking about is it get any easier saying goodbye is essentially what's happened to the people here. Is it's gotten so easy that it's like, he's just here for, you know, a year. He's here for 6 months, whatever. And so, you know, definitely from that perspective, I want to reverse that a little bit, but definitely understandable equally, you know.
For sure.
And so just callous. Something happens all the time and you just callous to it, you know. You don't, and no one's consciously thinking like, Simon's only gonna be here for 2 years, so I'm not gonna invite him over for dinner. Like, you know what I mean? No one's thinking that, but yeah. So it's interesting. Everybody good then? Mm-hmm. You guys just shut it off. I gotta be ready. Like once y'all stop talking, like it's gonna be like a silence, you know, and a silent gap or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that was a pretty simple, straight yes or no question that you were able to expand for about an hour.
I did it by myself. Like y'all want to talk?
No, I'm saying like good for you. Kudos to the host of the Red Roots podcast.
Where are you from?
I'm trying to be Simon.
That sounds like somebody from Bangladesh who learned English from someone who was from.
Okay, I stopped practicing.
Who was someone from Thailand, and English was their third language.
Come on now.
Like,
just watch a little bit more Peppa Pig.
Yeah,
I'll learn from Joe and Jay.
Mummy, chat. Yeah. All right. So you got any big plans this week?
I need to finish the devotional that is written in English. It's complete. So I'm going through the process of changing it into Spanish.
Exciting.
Is that the characteristics of that?
Yes.
I need to finish that book cover. I started it and.
So we started. Oh yeah, we started this week. We did our where we uploaded it. Our food series of Just Try It series, of where we try different foods. Did you watch it?
No.
You're not gonna watch it.
Watch your own video.
I can't watch my own videos. I just find them too cringy.
Here, I will.
The first one's cringy, but not because of you.
Yeah.
It's not cringy. Actually, it's more cringy because of me, because it was the first one, and like we don't know.
It wasn't cringy. I watched it. It was not.
But
you guys are so hard on yourself.
No, just because the idea is solid, but it's getting to the rhythm of like, okay, what is this going to be? What is it going to be like? And so to me, the first one is cringy. It is, and it's not you that's cringy. It's like it's just it's cringy because like we're both kind of like
feeling it out like, okay, how is this gonna work?
I laughed because in the middle of the video, it's like, yeah, that's what we'll call it. Just try it. It's like you didn't work this out.
Working it out.
Well, I said something about it before, but like we didn't decide, and I was like, I think we're gonna do it. Because like maybe we can change the name going forward.
And then he's like, we have to qualify. We have to qualify it. No.
Yeah.
In the middle, he's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna. So yeah, should they try? It's like you're working the details out in the middle.
Maybe we'll change it to bang or bust or something like that. Bang or bust, bang, bust. Like this is because, but there's some fun episodes coming up. Not this week's, not the next week's, but after that, I think is a good one. And then there's one, and then there's the last. No. There's two. We did five, and so this is Suspiro this week. So we did that Suspiro, and then we did
This the next one coming out is like the sugary
that
one,
thing.
isn't it? Yeah.
That's tomorrow, right?
Yeah, and then it's Pasoka, I think.
Yeah, then that was a decent episode.
Pasoka's funny because like
disagreed with that one.
Yeah, we did. I think that's the only one we disagreed on. Pasoka, and then then the one after that is like the best one I think so far.
No, because you got the sweet bread comes after that one.
Was that first? I mean, so the last one was the rice bread.
Yeah, the last one was.
I thought the last one was the sweet bread because we got. I said we gotta get the taste out of our mouth.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So last week y'all are all like secretive about not revealing what you're doing, and now you're just giving it all out.
No, we're just saying like it's a good episode.
Yeah.
We didn't say anything else. We're gonna say every episode's a good episode because we did it. But I mean, until it's out, then we'll go back and say it was cringy.
Yeah.
That's marketing.
There's one part of
That's
it where you're
marketing.
like, hey, what's your favorite food? I just go blank. I just go McDonald's.
Oh yeah, I laughed. I was like, okay, that's my girl's favorite
Like,
too.
I didn't want to get it because like it was. I didn't. Now, like I'll get into it next time. But like I'm gonna make it just like anything off the menu at McDonald's. Like
Just everything.
the nuggets, like what? He said McDonald's.
You put him on the spot. Yeah.
That's so fun. The thing is that like I don't know what I'm gonna say, like because I didn't think about it too much, you know. I just started talking, and then like with the one.
Would you have a different answer right now?
Right now? Yeah, roast chicken.
So
Roast chicken and
he
mashed
goes-
potato.
He goes from McDonald's to
Fast
roast chicken
food to
and
like
mashed
homemade.
potatoes. Yeah, it's
Oh,
like,
I knew that was your favorite.
Yeah.
The mashed potatoes.
yeah. I think I knew that too, but then he said McDonald's. I'm gonna correct the man on what his favorite food is. Like,
No, it's not.
yeah, like okay, well, I guess that's what it is. I mean, I just took it from the perspective of like guilty pleasure, like just like grabbing McDonald's. So I said, oh, that's
Just
fair,
everything on
and
it.
moved on. You know.
I didn't even think about.
Yeah, like all of it. McDonald's. If it comes in that wrapper, I love it. Like the sweet and sour sauce, just lick it out of the thing.
If it doesn't go old in 2 years, I love it.
Yeah. No, it's fun though. I will probably have some good ones coming up too. But the one, like, we laughed through the entire episode of one. Like literally, I'm not exaggerating. We laughed through the entire episode. Like we just had to cut it off. But that's the fun one. And then like, yeah. So you'll see it. But it's yeah, you haven't seen them. I guess they're not all done though. So Speedo's done, and it's up, right? Yeah, I think we got videos all through this.
But that
week.
one is up. I have to create the thumbnail for it, so I'm gonna watch it today.
Cool. Yeah, I think I got videos all through this week through next Monday. So I gotta film some more stuff for next Wednesday or whatever. So we got time for that because we're doing renovations and stuff. So church update. What is it called? Church whatever part 7. It's literally.
Is this? Yeah, it is. It would be 7.
Yeah,
like
it's
there's
a
a
lot.
hole in the wall we just painted and we had to knock down.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see. All right, so we'll end it here. Anything else?
I'm good.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We appreciate your love and support, and we'll see you next week. Provecho.